The HOA gave me 30 days to rip out my son's wheelchair-accessible bathroom, or pay $200 a day until I did. I stood in that doorway, one hand on the grab bar I had installed myself, and I told the board president no. She smiled like she already knew she'd won. She had no idea what letter was already on its way to my inbox, or how fast her own attorney would turn against her. My name is Rachel. I live in a quiet cul-de-sac in a community called Brookstone Hills, the kind of place with matching mailboxes and a strict list of rules nobody reads until it's used against them. My son Ethan is 12. He has cerebral palsy and uses a wheelchair full-time. 2 years ago, after his last surgery, his doctors told me plainly the house needed to change, or his independence would keep shrinking. So my husband and I saved for 18 months. We widened the hallway bathroom doorway, lowered the sink, installed a roll-in shower with a fold-down bench, and put grab bars exactly where his physical therapist recommended. It wasn't a luxury renovation, it was survival. It was Ethan being able to wash himself instead of needing help every single day. Watching Ethan wheel himself into that shower for the first time and come out 20 minutes later grinning because he'd done it without help is a memory I will carry forever. That bathroom wasn't tile and grab bars to me. It was his dignity. For a year, nobody said a word. Neighbors waved. The mailman knew Ethan by name. Then Brookstone Hills got a new HOA board president. Her name was Diane Whitfield, and she treated the community bylaws like scripture. Within a month of taking over, she started walking the neighborhood with a clipboard, photographing anything that didn't match the approved aesthetic standards, a slightly different shade of shutter paint, a garden gnome, a wheelchair ramp 2 doors down, that had apparently always bothered her. That's when the letter came. It said, "My bathroom renovation violated Section 14 of the Community Guidelines. Interior. Modifications requiring board approval before construction." I hadn't submitted paperwork 2 years ago, because frankly, I didn't know medical renovations needed board sign-off at all. The letter demanded I restore the bathroom to its original configuration within 30 days. I called Diane directly. I explained everything. Ethan's condition, the doctors, the surgery, the fact that this wasn't cosmetic, it was necessary. She listened, and then she said something I'll never forget. "Rules are rules, Rachel. We can't make exceptions or everyone will want one." I asked if she understood what she was asking. Tear out a wheelchair-accessible bathroom from a home where a disabled child lived. She said the board would take it under consideration, which I quickly learned meant nothing at all. 2 weeks later, the fines started. $200 a day, automatically added to my HOA account. By week 3, I owed over $4,000. I got a letter threatening a lien on my house if the balance wasn't paid. Diane started showing up at community meetings, reading my case out loud like a cautionary tale, telling neighbors that some people think rules don't apply to them. Then it got personal. Someone left an anonymous note in my mailbox suggesting I should just sell and move somewhere more suitable. A contractor's truck, hired by the HOA to assess the violation, showed up in my driveway unannounced while Ethan was home alone with a sitter. He was terrified. I filed a formal complaint about that visit. The board ignored it completely. What none of them realized was that every single one of those actions was quietly being written, down-dated, and saved by me, in a folder that would matter more than they could imagine. What she didn't know was that another parent in the neighborhood, a man named Carlos, pulled me aside after one of those meetings. His daughter had a mobility disability too. He told me quietly, "You need to stop fighting this as a bathroom argument. Start fighting it as a civil rights argument." He gave me a name and a phone number, the ADA National Network. I called them the next morning, half expecting a dead end. Instead, I got a case specialist who listened to every detail, then said the words that changed everything. HOAs cannot override the Fair Housing Act or the ADA's reasonable accommodation protections. What they're demanding may be flatly illegal. She explained it in plain language. Under federal disability law, homeowners associations are legally required to allow reasonable modifications for residents with disabilities. An HOA can ask for advance notice. They can ask for proof of need, usually a simple letter from a doctor. But they cannot deny or reverse a medically necessary accessibility modification just because it doesn't match the community's aesthetic rules. Denying it isn't bylaw enforcement, it's discrimination, and it can trigger a federal fair housing complaint against both the association and the individual board members who pushed it. Within days, the ADA National Network issued a formal written advisory addressed to the Brookstone Hills Board. It laid out, point by point, why forcing removal of Ethan's bathroom violated federal law, and it noted that continuing to pursue the fines could expose the HOA to a fair housing complaint and personal liability for board members. I hand-delivered a copy to the next board meeting. Diane tried to wave it off as just a suggestion letter. Then the HOA's own attorney, who'd been quietly reviewing the situation, stood up in front of everyone and said the board needed to drop the matter immediately, before it turned into a lawsuit the community couldn't afford. The room went dead silent. 2 days later, I received a written apology and a full refund of every fine. The lien threat disappeared. Ethan's bathroom stayed exactly as it was, exactly as he needed it. Diane resigned from the board 6 weeks later, citing personal reasons, though nobody in the neighborhood believed that for a second. I didn't stop there. I made copies of that ADA advisory and gave it to 3 other families in Brookstone Hills who were quietly dealing with their own accessibility fights. A widow with a stair lift, a veteran with a ramp, a little girl with a hearing device wired through her hallway. None of them knew the law was already on their side. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's simple. Rules written on paper don't outrank rights written into federal law. If you or someone you love needs a home to actually work for their body, you are not asking for a favor. You are exercising a right. Tell me in the comments if your HOA has ever crossed a line like this, and if this story helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it.